Welcome! Please join me on virtually walking this route together in Finland. We will be walking in beautiful summer urban nature today and going through our research paper simultaneously, which is titled Gamification of Walking in Nature, a Field Experiment with Pokémon GO Routes. But why would we want to motivate or gamify walking in nature? Well, previous research offers us the following rationale. First, stress reduction theory and related empirical research have demonstrated that for people living in urban atmospheres, spending time in or just viewing nature scenery can have a measurable and observable reduction in stress levels. Second, attention restoration theory and related empirical research have shown that nature scenery and walking in nature can help with attention deficits. Third, walking in nature provides a healthy form of exercise. The uneven ground is good for our joints and the air quality is typically good for our lungs. Fourth, spending time in nature can help us build appreciation towards the natural world and its wonders, among other things. Thus, we set our aim to investigate whether we could direct people to walk more in nature. As a research context, we chose the most popular location-based game Pokémon GO, and in particular, its new routes mechanic. You can see the routes mechanic at play in this very video as we're walking a route together. It is essentially a user-generated path anywhere on Earth, but it has to start and end at a Pokéstop or a gym. Let's talk about our research methods. So for this particular study, we created altogether 13 routes in various areas, ranging from routes in the city to more rural routes, routes with nature scenery to routes with a more urban landscape around them, and routes with varying lengths and elevation changes. We kept track of the times each route was walked and how players' walking habits evolved over time from the routes features launch in summer of 2023 all the way to December 20 on 2023. We also sent a survey to players asking about their routes preferences, and this survey received 67 accepted responses. At the time of the initial data collection, there were no other routes in the data collection city of Turku, Finland, besides the ones we created. This created an ideal circumstance for a field experiment like this. So briefly, how did we analyze the data we collected? Well, we did it in two parts. First, we accrued descriptive statistics from the numerical data of the routes and the walk rates. So we just looked at how many times each route was walked. Then we grouped the routes together based on the scenery, whether it was mostly a nature scenery, trees, all that stuff, or whether it was a more urban scenery, which is like concrete buildings and all that stuff. And then we also grouped the routes together based on the distance from the city center and other things like that. So then once we were familiar with the numerical data and what that informed us, we also, together with that, read the survey data in full, and then we used a thematic analysis and generated themes that describe the data collected from the field experiment. Findings. So we had the following key findings. I'll list 4 findings here, and for more details you can read the full paper if you so desire. So the first finding, we reaffirmed findings from previous research that players tended to play primarily in areas where they live and spend their daily lives. So this is that location-based game players, even though they might want to travel across the land, searching far and wide every now and then, more often than not, they kind of go and just play amidst their mundane daily lives. The second finding is that unique in-game rewards specific to real-world locations would boost players' motivation to go to specific places, such as nature. So currently in our field experiment, the routes didn't yield any specific unique rewards. So, for example, if you walked a very rural route, the rewards would essentially be the exact same if you walked a route on your backyard. So for this reason, and based on the survey responses, we find that if we were offering more unique rewards, like if you walk a very rural route in the forest, you get something that you cannot obtain through any other means, then that would boost participation in nature walks. So this is something kind of a design idea for those looking to create location-based experiences that would motivate nature going. Third, There's a need for better tools for discovering routes and other playable content, and if these tools were in place, that would help players gravitate more towards rural and nature locations. So one of the themes throughout the survey was that there was a lack of information available where the routes were located. So players had to rely mostly on very limited data through their Pokemon Go applications, and then social media posts where routes were located. So they couldn't explore or get like suggestions that perhaps you would want to go walk a nature trail far away. So discoverability is a huge thing here. And fourth, the practicalities such as time and effort required to get to remote locations are significant hurdles for day-to-day nature rural route travel. Designers could look into motivating urban nature travel instead, or then they could look into ways to alleviate the issues of time and effort required to get to nature locations. During the reviews, we got feedback such as it doesn't make sense to direct huge urban populations to rural areas, and we completely agree. So perhaps like a middle ground would be to motivate to travel to urban parks and other areas where there is a bit more of that nature scenery within cities. But certainly practicalities of the real world are something we have to consider when we're designing or creating location-based games that are essentially a hybrid form of play between the technology and then the real world and everything that goes into it. So in conclusion, taken together, the launch of the routes feature in Pokemon Go enabled us to investigate in the context of a popular commercial location-based game, whether players would prefer routes with nature scenery over urban scenery, and also whether with route placement we could impact where players move. This study therefore links to the gamification of moving, as well as more specifically the gamification of nature travel through location-based elements. Thank you for listening to this video presentation of our paper. For details, check out the full publication, which is available openly to everyone through the Creative Commons license.